People in the Lucky Dip gang were having fun on the streets of Dublin in a stolen car early in the morning on July 17, 2024. The Hyundai Kona had been stolen in a nearby break-in just hours before. The teen driver was a member of the gang who was already known to the police. Michael Farrelly, 40, was walking home along the coast road in Baldoyle, a quiet North Dublin seaside suburb. He had no idea that the stolen car was coming fast. The car then crashed into him and didn't slow down, leaving Michael to die on the side of the road. Around 2021, the Lucky Dip gang came together in the western suburbs of Dublin. A lot of the members were teenagers from working-class parts of Dublin, like Blanchardstown in West Dublin. Their strange name, Lucky Dip, came from the way they chose who to target. It was kind of like drawing a prize from a lucky dip bag to decide where to hit. Garda sources say that gang members would open the Google Maps app on their phones and pick a town or housing estate at random as their target for the night. Usually, these places were in the Greater Dublin or Leinster area. Reports say that the teens chose the name, not the media. The Lucky Dip gang's activities slowly picked up speed until late 2021. In the Dublin area, reports of strange break-ins and stolen car joyrides started to come in. Each night, the crew would focus on a different area and hit as many cars and homes as they could in a short amount of time. The young people worked surprisingly hard. CCTV footage showed that they could break in and out of a place in 90 seconds, which is as fast as some professional burglary gangs, but for much smaller targets. Some of the first things they stole were small amounts of cash, electronics from unlocked glove boxes, and sometimes a power tool from a garden shed. A police report from 2022 said that the gang had stolen about 100 cars in the previous year, which they mostly used for fun instead of selling. During this time, the gang's core members stayed small, but it didn't take long for other people to join in on the fun. For example, a 17-year-old from Tallaght was known to the police as one of the crew's most prolific car thieves. From another part of Dublin, a 15-year-old joined and quickly stole a lot of things. By the middle of 2022, Gardaí thought that 7 to 8 people were regularly involved with the Lucky Dip gang's illegal activities. At this point, the police started to realize that these were not just a few careless drivers, but part of a bigger pattern. As detectives started to make connections between crimes that happened all over Leinster, the nickname Lucky Dip started to show up in police briefings. The Lucky Dip gang's activities sped up and got worse as 2022 went on. From about 7 or 8 young people in the middle of 2022 to almost 40 known members in less than a year, their membership grew very quickly. The gang could hit more places or work in more than one subgroup if they had more members. New recruits, who were usually still in their mid-teens, were eager to show what they could do. The cherry orchard incident in the summer of 2022 was clearly caused by the Lucky Dip gang, but it has never been proven. It happened in an area where members of the gang are known to live, so it's a good example of the kind of trouble they were making in Dublin at the time. In the last week of July 2022, there were 5 nights of chaos in the estate. Stolen cars were tearing through the streets, burned-out cars were left smoldering on the road, and there was no law enforcement after dark. Police in the area searched the homes of known juvenile offenders as part of a crackdown. A bunch of teens were arrested for taking cars and causing trouble. But things only got worse. As it got dark in Cherry Orchard on September 19th, a lot of teens and other people were standing along a street. A group of people watched as two stolen cars drove quickly back and forth in front of them. When a Garda patrol car arrived, the people on the bikes didn't run away. Instead, they drove right into the car twice, then got out of the cars and ran off. The suspects, some of whom were reportedly already under court-ordered curfews, were nowhere to be found when help arrived. According to people who knew at the time, the ramming may have been done as a form of revenge for the recent Garda raids in the area. The Lucky Dip gang were never officially blamed, but their behavior and attitude would soon be seen over and over again. They grew their range and strategies in late 2022 and early 2023. They stopped stealing from cars and started breaking into homes and businesses more often to get more money. At first, they went after small shops, takeout places, pubs and coffee shops that might have a cash register. One group of Lucky Dip thieves went on a spree in early 2023, breaking into at least 6 businesses in rural Meath across one night. They broke into coffee shops, barber shops, hair salons, and chip shops. The profits were very small. On average, only about €50 was stolen from each business. The gang also used the internet. They would live stream high-speed thrill rides on TikTok and post videos of themselves destroying ignition systems or going very fast on highways. The fact that they were proud of their crimes in public made more people aware of them, which in turn encouraged more impressionable teens to try to join the gang. By the middle of 2023, the number of young people in the Lucky Dip gang had grown to as many as 60, spread out across Dublin. No longer a single close-knit group, the gang was now a loose network of thieves and thrill-seekers who worked together under the same name. The gang formed loose networks or cells all over the city, but they were still not very well organized in the traditional sense. By the end of 2023, the police had to admit that the Lucky Dip crew was an organized crime group, even though it was very chaotic. This was because the group worked together and didn't break up easily. The fact that some members of the gang were now ready to use violence to get what they wanted was probably the scariest thing. After a chase in the middle of 2023, police stopped a car full of young Lucky Dip suspects and found a sledgehammer, an axe, and other weapons inside. At the same time, a 17-year-old member of the gang was named as a suspect in a recent armed robbery. This was very different from the gang's previous property crimes, which were not violent. Gardaí stepped up their efforts to gather information behind the scenes. They kept an eye on the gang's social media accounts and found about 60 people involved from all over Dublin who were sharing information between district stations. One of the hardest things for the police was figuring out how to physically catch the gang as they ran away. The Lucky Dip gang's favorite move was to drive off quickly in stolen cars, which is something that all police departments take very seriously. Because high-speed chases have caused terrible accidents in the past, Ireland has a law that limits them. This policy basically tells police not to chase a fleeing driver if they think they are too dangerous to the public. The Lucky Dip gang knew this very well, so they would drive carelessly because they knew that Garda cars probably wouldn't chase them through crowded streets, which would be dangerous. The early hours of July 17th, 2024, a stolen car, driven by a person suspected of being in the Lucky Dip gang, hit and killed Michael Farrelly, who was walking home in the North Dublin suburb of Baldoyle. Farrelly was an innocent man. The police saw the Hyundai Kona, which had been stolen from a house earlier that night, driving erratically not long before the tragedy. Police tried to stop it, but the car got away. A few minutes later, that same car hit Michael and killed him. The driver and passengers got out of the car and ran away. leaving the victim to die on the side of the road. Over the next few weeks, DNA and forensic traces were taken from the recovered car by the police. They were able to arrest two main suspects by September 2024. An 18-year-old from Blanchardstown, who was thought to have been the driver, and a 17-year-old from Ballyfermot, who was thought to have been his passenger in the car. In the Lucky Dip gang, they were both well known. The 17-year-old was questioned and then released until he or she was sent to the youth diversion program. The 18-year-old's case was sent to the Director of Public Prosecutions so that serious charges could be brought against them. But the gang's pride didn't go away even after they killed a man. In April 2025, almost 9 months after Michael Farrelly was hit and left to die on the side of the road, people in the Croftwood area woke up to find large amounts of graffiti on the wall of an empty house. The graffiti was directed directly at two local Garda officers by name and was full of insults, like saying that the police couldn't keep up with the joyriders in chases. That's a wrap for today's video. If you liked what you saw, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who'd enjoy it too. Got thoughts or questions? Drop them in the comments. I'm always reading. Catch you in the next one.